I love that way to start, just kind of noticing nature and just kind of being in nature and how healing it can be. And I know that a lot of us are wanting to have our loved ones or ourselves be able to enjoy going out and having the energy to go out and not anticipating the fear of pain. So I'm hoping that by the end of this session that you will feel some difference in the level of pain that you're feeling today. And if you're just here to support a loved one, welcome. Just inside the chat, if you could please put your starting measure of pain, if you are feeling some pain on a scale of 0 to 10, just kind of noticing where it is, with 10 being the highest, and just kind of noticing where it is in your body and what it feels like. Some of the techniques that we do today, we'll be doing this exercise a few times throughout today, but just kind of taking it where you are. If you do have a concussion, please, take some time to close your eyes and, don't take in that light. Or if you have a migraine, we will make sure that we're explaining things so you don't have to engage those eyes. So just jumping in to the seminar. So we are trying to help you find your retreat from chronic pain. My company is Retreat Psychology, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but you can also look us up on retreatpsychology.com. I'm located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I was born in Wales in the UK and moved here when I was 5. So definitely loving that people around the world have engaged in this workshop today. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Rian White. I found this career late in life. So I went back to school to become my master's of psychology when I was a director of a college and wanting to become a dean of a university. And I had been doing career coaching for about 20 years. And the reason that I went back for psychology to get my master's was I was dealing with a lot of students that had returned to school because they were on WCB or they were injured and they weren't able to complete the same tasks as they used to, or they had had such pain or discomfort or sleeping issues or insomnia during their high school that they needed an alternative for going into college or university. So through that lovely journey, I ended up working in addictions, and a lot of addictions I found were from people who were in pain, both emotionally and physically. But through that, I found my way to motor vehicle accidents, and then I got into EMDR therapy and IFS therapy, and then started to look for solutions for pain. So I use a very holistic approach, and I love helping people, discover how to get rid of their pain. So I hope that you will get value out of this tonight. So the nervous system is your fire alarm. So if you think about when you are first in a relationship, that beautiful moment when your nervous system is the butterflies and you're feeling excited. Well, anxiety and excitement are the same in the body. The body cannot tell the difference. So what happens is we get to this lovely part in our relationship where our nervous systems are regulating so well that all we want to do is get home at the end of the day and just fall into our partner and just kind of be with them because their nervous system is home to us. But then you add on all the other stresses of life, and all of a sudden, say that your partner's in pain and you can't make that pain go away, or you're in pain and your protectors keep on coming up saying, I want people to just leave me alone, or I don't want to get out of bed. Right? So all of these are, protectors. But the fire alarm is why most treatments stall. And when the brain's control center is stuck in the on position, why, we can't turn off that pain. So just like many other things, we get used to pain and we kind of notice it a little bit differently. And when it's not there, we have a fear it's going to return back. So there's like a cycle that happens. We want to deal with stabilization over fluff. We understand people have real injuries, and that's a blocking belief too, that you need to be in as much pain as that injury is. So science shows and studies show that pain can actually increase by 70% over years following an actual injury. So what happens is when we are injured, what happens is our body understands how to deal with real injuries, like, so say we've got a friend that has a bad back. We always recommend them to go to a chiropractor, a massage, or we tell them to cure some Tylenol. We put them on an inversion table. There's a lot of support for people trying to help you. But if you were to say, I'm depressed and I don't know how to get out of it, a lot of people honestly don't know how to get you out of it. So what we have learned over time is to put the emotions onto the body, which we'll get into in a little bit. So I want to give you some stabilization techniques and not just fluff. So keep an open mind and you will get some changes throughout this night. And closing the generalist gap. So a lot of clients that come to me, they might have been with some other counselors for sometimes up to 35 years. I've had people that have walked in for couples counseling with me, and I do a full holistic approach. So I check to see if there's any pain anywhere. And, I've had people that after 3 weeks with me, they are back to walking and, their injury is not as bad, and they're now vacationing with their spouse again, and now they're kind of wondering what they even need to work on in couples counseling. So it can change lives. So definitely I believe in being a specialist. You wouldn't go if you've got a headache, you wouldn't go to a foot doctor. Right. So that's kind of the same thing. But the thing is with psychology, we're very vague about what we actually do. Right. So we give you all these acronyms. But my belief is if you've been in counseling for a while, you should be able to tell me what modality that you were using. And that's a big word, but it's like, okay, are you using CBT? If CBT wasn't working for you, is it just talk therapy, right? Like what modality of talk therapy that they have? There's 400 different modalities. So if one doesn't work for you, you should be able to pivot, right? Okay. And I would also like to do some housekeeping before I do my webinar promises today. So we have disabled cameras for privacy, just so that we are recording this. So we want to make sure that anyone attending this webinar their privacy is safe. Even in the chat, when we're going through the chat and questions, we will make sure that we get to everybody's questions if we don't know the answers to something, because there's always something new growing in the field. And so we will make sure that we get back to you on those answers, but we'll try to answer them before the end of today's session. So by the end of this hour, I hope that you will understand how your nervous system processes pain and walk away with an immediate somatic tools to reclaim agency over your body. Now, this is just going to be a tester. So just know that this is just for you to take note of which ones you liked and try to find someone in your area, if you're not in Canada, to be able to assist you. The deep dive format, rather than just a list of topics and tips, we're going to try and, address some of that nervous system thing. I mean, all of us know what we like in Costco because we tried it, right? Nothing's worse than buying a big bag of stuff and it being the most disgusting stuff you've ever tasted in your life. So let's make sure that this is right on cue for what you want. And at the end of this, we will offer a highly discounted course. Usually sessions with me are between $235 to $250 an hour Canadian. And so I want to make sure that it's accessible to everybody. Okay. So I want you to claim back your resilient body. And I want everybody to just kind of be mindful of your breath throughout this webinar. I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just kind of notice how you feel just landing here, right? It can bring up a lot of emotions, like here I am on a Friday night dealing with trying to solve pain, right? Like that's not what everybody wishes that they were doing on a Friday night. So I want to get you out of the chair and back into the world. So, and I'm going to show you how to do it without a lot of effort. So basically, trauma in the brain, we're going to move from fighting the system to partnering it with your body. I bet you're exhausted. You're looking for the line on the outside where your nervous system is screaming on the inside. And so you're kind of like trying to look like you're okay, right? And so have you ever felt like you're on trial at the doctor's appointment? I felt like that. You know, and I don't even have chronic pain. You know, whenever I've had, you know, some issue and they're like, oh, everything's coming back normal. Like, isn't that frustrating, right? And so you know, I have had clients that have gone through specialists and years of specialists, and they got some resolution just by using some of the tricks that we're going to use tonight in some short weeks. So okay, next one. So the survival strategy of pain. Pain isn't just a symptom, it's your nervous system's way of trying to protect you. So just think about it. Think about those people out there that don't have a sensation of pain. Those people that injure themselves because they can't feel their feet, right? So there's a safety in feeling that pain, but we also want to find balance. So evidence-based interventions that work is what we're going to focus on tonight. And they're going to feel a little weird because you're going to be like, how does this work, right? And happy to send you the science afterwards, but we're going to just do a short one tonight because I want to be mindful of the hour. So this is one of my favorite things. What I would like you to do is in the chat, just kind of notice, and if you don't feel comfortable in the chat, that's okay. Just note it in your head. I want you to go through this map and just kind of notice where your pain is and ask yourself, do I have anything that I'm holding on to, right? That seems like potential nervous system emotional wiring, right? And so the most common one that people don't notice is when you have lower back pain, that's a lot of the times financial. So if somebody is going to the chiropractor and getting relief, or going to the massage therapist and getting relief, and then 2 days later it's coming back, that's usually an indication that there's something rehashing inside the nervous system. So your body is trying to create that safety. So instead of our brain saying, I don't know how to deal with this financial problem and how I feel about these finances, so I'm just going to put it in the back, right? What you're going to do is instead of going to the massage therapist, you will, but who doesn't love a massage? So I still go. But what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go to the massage therapist, but I'm also going to do a hypnosis about my feeling about finances. So it's not that you're broke. It's not that something's really happening. Sometimes we've been taught historically to worry about finances. And so that becomes programming for us, right? Especially if we came from generations of scarcity. So yeah, so that's how we use the emotional pain body map. And you know, my team will also put it in the chat, the PDF of that, so that you can access it. And we're happy to send it out. If anyone would like it, please put in the chat, you know, to please send it to you. And we'll have a whole bunch of resources we can send to you afterwards. Okay, so the next one, so we've talked about the body, let's talk about the emotional pain chart. So we have inside our organs is also this historic kind of feeling of where we're going to put pain when it happens. So if we have a stomach, it could be disgust. I notice a lot of stomach issues in boundary issues. So when someone is feeling like they have been violated in some way, their boundary has been violated, that can be inside the stomach. If you're inside a job that is just very much not in alignment with your ethics, the lungs, a lot of people, when they're processing grief and not having grief move through them, it can end up in the lungs. So you hear of a lot of people feeling like they have a cough that they can't, or a cold that they can't kick after losing a loved one. And that can happen anytime. Yeah. So so just, when you get that map of the organs, just kind of thinking and reflecting and just allowing, just by letting it go from the subconscious to the conscious, it starts to naturally release. So beyond talk therapy. So what I always talk about is that our body is a lot of our messaging, and we'll get into this a little bit later. And our cognitive brain is only on board for about 20% of our messages, and 80% is inside of our body. And so our logical brain sometimes doesn't understand why we're feeling something, right? Because if it was in charge, you wouldn't feel anything, right? Like, who likes feeling except for happiness? So the tired, wounded. So I want you to stop working so hard, right? And I want you to stop letting people say that you're not working hard enough. So that's one of the things that I hear a lot. Now, waking up in pain, for anybody that's been fighting off a cold or, a cough, they know how much energy that takes. Now imagine living that day after day and having to do so many appointments. Okay. So exploring light and sound as a healer. So I want you to think about ultrasound at the doctor's and think about how that kind of came to be. And I'm going to tell you the story of the water harmonica. So there was a water harmonica, glasses, when you go like this and you kind of make the sounds on glasses. They had perfected this thing called the water harmonica. And the water harmonica is basically a bunch of glasses, and it would go into water and it would make this sound. And one of the people that perfected it then started making it in mass production for parlors and lounges. And what they would find is a lot of people would have extreme mental health effects, bordering on mental illness, when this was being played. So some people would experience extreme depression, extreme anxiety after hearing this sound. That's how powerful sound can be. And that's why we've continued. After that, we started researching the healing part of sound. So if you think about your origins and your ancestors, there is probably some sound that actually comes from your heritage that is actually comforted. And that is actually programmed in our DNA. So our DNA actually understands if we are from a country that was invaded by people who play bagpipes, we will not find bagpipes something relaxing for us. If we came from a place that, music, as people would invade, they would sing. We would not like singing. We would look more for musical, right? Like instrumentation. Yeah, so tools like affirmations, binaural beats, or hypnosis while you sleep to bypass the analytical mind and reach the subconscious. So one thing that you can do is press play before you go to sleep. And there's lots of different things that we can do. So affirmations, there's subliminal ones that sound like waves. There's ones that sound like a jazz bar. The reason affirmations are so important is we are 70% negative bias. So what that means is for every one negative that we hear throughout the day, we need 9 positives. Now, if you've ever been mad at someone, you can think of probably a few hundred negatives in about 5 minutes. And what we want to do is balance that out with 9 positives. Well, can you think of 9 positives to outbalance 1 negative? If you are, you're probably better off than most of the population. So what we do is we actually will build the bank of our positives. So when you think of it, is, okay, here's your one negative, and you're going to the bank to make a withdrawal, and your bank is empty, right? So now, how stressful is this one negative going to feel, right? Has anyone ever had a bill that you didn't have the money to pay? It's pretty stressful, right? So by building the bank of affirmations in the night, what happens is our bank is at like $1 million over time, right? And so no matter how many negatives we have during the day, it doesn't actually feel like that much of a withdrawal. So we're not checking our bank account anymore. We're just like, just let them take it on auto pay, right? Binaural beats. So there is some confusion between bilateral beats and binaural beats. Binaural beats are beats that are actually the frequency that is being studied for which part of your brain is activated during that particular frequency. And those are healing or soothing binaural beats. Bilateral beats are left, right, very similar to EMDR or bilateral stimulation. And those ones actually retrain the brain. So what we need to do during those times that we're retraining the brain is we need to be able to focus on what is going on with the brain. So we need to decide what it is we're processing. And we're going to do a little bit of some techniques later on that will give you an experience of that. Then we have hypnosis. So hypnosis is not like you see on stages. Basically, any hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So you can choose whether or not you're participating in it, and you can choose to get out of it at any time. So it is more like meditation. The only difference is meditation is kind of like accepting what is and allowing yourself to just kind of be there and be in awareness. Hypnosis tries to put in new systems in order to rewire the brain. So both of them rewire the brain in their own ways. But like hypnosis is usually adding a little bit of intention into it. Okay, so I always get asked, how fast does this work? Because really, I wanted this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. If you put in the time, you will get benefit. But I like to call some things the easy button. So I do not sell any of these products. But these are the benefits that I usually talk to my clients about. If you make small changes while you sleep, you will see some changes fast. Right? So as a female, you are only sleeping 10% and you are 90% awake in your subconscious while you're sleeping. And that's because we're programmed to wake up with the babies, right? As a male, you are only 30% sleeping and 70% awake while you're sleeping. So why not do some of the work and kind of allow that mind? So you can decide, maybe you don't want to work on pain during the night. Maybe you want to work on, manifesting something that's good. You can choose what it is that you're doing and the affirmations, so it isn't always have to be like, oh, I've got anxiety, so I've got to always focus on anxiety. What we want to do is kind of look at the chart of our body, notice where you're feeling it, and then kind of go into that, right? And then this is not to be replaced for medical advice. Please do not go off your medications or anything. This is all stuff that is just for basically creating a little bit more options on your menu. Always talk to your doctor before changing anything medically. We're looking for the easy win. So the thing that I always recommend is earthing. I will go into a little bit of the science of earthing after this, but we do not touch the ground very often anymore. And so there's a 15-minute movie called Earthing, and it talks about the science and how a gentleman with chronic pain that actually almost died one night ended up researching grounding because he was an electrical technician. And so what he found is when he was grounded, he didn't have to use as many painkillers. So, then you're like, oh no, I have to go outside. But you can just get a grounding mat for about $25 Canadian. I always recommend getting the one with the tester so that it actually works. All it does is plug into the grounding outlet. Here in Canada, we do have snow most of the time, so we don't want to go outside with our bare feet. So this provides like options. I use it while I'm working. Some people use it, at night underneath their beds. There is some detoxification that happens with some people, so always ease into it. Right. There is, other things to keep in mind. Red light therapy is very healing and is now being used. If you are noticing anything like with trouble sleeping, that kind of stuff, getting away from the blue light, blue light blocking glasses, even though they're not as effective as they were thought, because the light still kind of gets through here. And we do definitely need to make sure that we get blue light during the day to build our bubble, basically. And also, if anyone is suffering from bipolar mania, please make sure that you are always aware of how UV light can trigger mania. So ensure that your loved ones are always aware if you are starting new light technologies. Then we also have a Bluetooth eye mask. So the reason I recommend a Bluetooth eye mask is it really puts you in the space where you are not being bothered and you can get a deeper sleep while doing the hypnosis. But some people prefer to have it on a speaker. And if you have a partner that doesn't mind, that's great too. Yeah, and all of those are just suggestions. Okay, so retraining the mind, polyvagal and CBT, and everything in between. So what we have is polyvagal is kind of like the nervous system studies, and that's where like somatics and all that kind of stuff come from. And then we've got CBT. So what happens is a lot of people, and especially counselors straight out of school, we choose CBT because it's the easiest. We just basically punch in on therapist aid that we want CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, for pain. And then what happens is we get these homework sheets. Well, I don't know about you, but when I'm in an emotional state, meaning that I'm feeling dysregulated, like just even driving to the office felt really anxious to me, I'm going to forget about that homework as soon as I leave. Right. And so for me, I like to get results with very little work. And that's kind of my preference because I want this to be a way of life. And for me, being at a desk all day, I'm already in the seated position. Last thing I want to do in my time off is to sit down and write. So one option that I absolutely love is if you are feeling that you're not needing as emotional regulation, you can start on the CBT right away. So if you take a picture of this QR code or go to the Curable app, there is a 6-week free trial for the Curable app. So that is the best way to do CBT 5 minutes daily without having to do paper sheets. So it teaches you how to dance around for 5 minutes in the morning and check to see how different you feel. It checks to see, like, geez, do you have something from childhood that might still be sitting there that's causing this pain, right? So it goes into a lot of it. So the cognitive brain is 20% and the emotional brain is 80%. So just kind of keeping that in mind, right? And, just notice your emotions in your body hearing that about homework, and that, just kind of noticing, do you feel it like in your jaw? Are you kind of like, I don't want to hear, like, I feel so exhausted. Why are you making me do more stuff? Right. And all of that is protecting you, right? That protector has protected you for a long time. Okay. So the easy win of earthing. So using Earth's natural charge to help regulate your system and provide immediate low effort relief. So who else thinks this is for hippies, right? Like, oh my goodness, those people who walk around with no shoes on. But when we go on vacation and we actually touch grass or we touch a beach and we're sitting there with our partner having a lovely picnic on like just a little blanket, even when we're sitting watching our children play, what's going on is actually a regulation inside the body. So we are meant to be part of the Earth system. And we have disconnected ourselves from the Earth almost completely. Most places have a lot of space between us and the Earth, and it's causing a lot of inflammation in the body. And I'm going to show you a few examples here. And I apologize. Some of them are kind of not pleasant to look at, but just the science behind it. So we're just trying to look at the results here. So this was a 84-year-old woman that was diabetic, and she had a non-healing wound. And basically what they did was they grounded her for just a short time. And within weeks, she was completely healed and pain-free. And she had been having this issue for 8 months. So just stepping on the ground helped her with this. And if you can notice her foot too, can you notice that the swelling's gone down? Yeah. And it looks a lot healthier, doesn't it? So just kind of noticing, if this was something, wouldn't it be worth trying? Right? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Okay, the next slide. This one is a study that was done. There's now 20 or 30, peer-reviewed studies, and it's really supported in the medical community now. Now, some of the claims on the earthing movie are a little overboard because there are a lot of people who ground every day and still have some health effects. So it's not a miracle cure. It's just something that can help, right? And if we take a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here, right, with the easy wins. So what happens is grounding, almost instantly, if you touch the ground, you will notice a calming, relaxing feeling. And then after half an hour, all of your organs will reset, right? So we need that resetting process, just like when we're sleeping. The way you can tell if you had a really good sleep and your organs reset is actually that you have to go to the bathroom, in the morning. So definitely, there are a lot of signs that we need some of the things that are to happen. So after grounding, you will find sleep improves, hormone balance improves, all that kind of stuff. Happy to get into it a little bit later when we have more time. So this is what we're trying to fight today. So hyperarousal is when you know that you're stressed out. So you've got all of these other things, like everybody knows what it's like to be stressed out. And what happens is you are kind of at that 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Does anybody remember the last time that they were at a 0 or a 2 in relaxation, where it wasn't that they were like, I just don't care anymore? Right? So where you're in hyperarousal, that's like your organs are under so much stress that eventually the floodlights have to come on. And so the next slide is going to show you what happens when the floodlights go on. So this is hypoarousal. So what hypoarousal is like you are done. Your organs, basically you have to go and hit the off switch. You have to go into distraction. Now, what does distraction look like? It could be scrolling on our phones for hours, not knowing why. It could be sitting in our car for 30 minutes before we go inside, and just kind of like noticing, right? That even though we're in that floodlights area, what happens is we're not really relaxed. So if we were at a 6 or a 7, we maybe drop down to a 3 and a 4. But what happens is as soon as the energy comes back on, we go back up. But we haven't had time for our nervous system to learn how to cope with it next time. So we're not in our window of resilience or truly calm. And so what I do with my clients is I teach them how to be calm. And I actually do a session with them called the 4 elements that actually makes you feel that you are, and we do have a new version of the 4 elements coming out. If you'd like to, we will release it on our Facebook page when it's ready to come out in a couple of weeks. So make sure to follow our website if you would like to get that practice. But it does take 45 minutes to learn how to relax at first, right? But once you know it, you can actually know how to do it in 2 to 3 minutes. So just in the chat, who doesn't remember what it's like to relax, right? Does a 0 or a 2 feel like the person would be lazy, right? Have you been taught that your value is in your productivity? And so maybe your pain is protecting you from overdoing it, right? Because maybe you've overdone it so many times. So have you ever had a really good day, and whenever you have a good day and you're like, hey, my neck pain's gone, all of a sudden you get this like migraine in the night because you've overdone it, but it's because you don't know how to say no. right? Just putting it out there. I'm not saying that's, yeah. Yeah, what is relaxation? A lot of us don't know. And that's what's happening with our teenagers these days, is that teenagers have never learned that time. Like, so remember when we were young, and we had to be on the bus, at least with me, you'd be on the bus and you'd watch the condensation going down the windows. And it was kind of relaxing in a way. But maybe you had a bad day and you were like having to process that bad day and kind of sit in it a little bit. And so you couldn't be comforted because you didn't have like a cell phone or anything. But there was a time where you could actually just think about it and think, okay, next time this happens, this is how I'm going to deal with it. Our children do not have that. So our teenagers and people like in there that have always had cell phones, as soon as they had something happen at school, they were able to find comfort right away by distracting. So they never learned how to deal with that anxiety, if that makes sense. Okay. So pain in the brain. So the fear and pain cycle. So the brain response is basically there's the brain response, pain beliefs, and pain experiences. So this kind of cycles, right? So at first you feel the pain and you're surprised, right? But maybe 2 months down, is it the pain anymore? Is it the fear of the pain? Are you not going up those stairs because you remember that it could hurt sometimes? So that's kind of where that CBT piece gets, is kind of getting into that fear, pain, belief. But there's another way to do it before that just requires you sleeping. So let's get into getting you some sleep. So the sleep pain cycle is if you lose sleep, your body doesn't heal and your pain threshold lowers. So, but your pain is now causing you to lose sleep, which is now causing the body not to heal, and it becomes a cycle. So how can we get that sleep back in? And there are things that we can do, like introducing non-sleep deep rest protocols during the day, which are a 10-minute exercise, which are just lovely. They're a form of Nidra yoga, and they're great little 10-minute tools, and you'll feel great afterwards. It's like the equivalent of having 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And what will happen is, by not having a nap during the day, you will have that balloon that's filled, ready to let go for that big sleep in the night. Okay. The polyvagal theory. So the polyvagal theory, basically, it's based on, in the polyvagal theory, a lot of the nerve endings are inside the hands and the lips and the nose. So, and the ears. So there are a lot of areas where we can release anxiety and stress just by giving ourselves a nice like hand massage, rotating our ears 4 times forward or 4 times back. This one's a lovely one. If you go like this along the vagal nerve, it's another one that's really great. But the polyvagal theory starts with befriending your nervous system. And we'll give you my playlist if you'd like to go through the playlist just to kind of get a feeling of this. It plays in order. It's got on there the earthing list and that kind of stuff. But what we do is the polyvagal theory starts with talking about how we evolved. So we evolved in 3 parts. So the first part, we were an organism that floated, and that's our freeze response. The next one, we were a fish, and that's kind of from here down to our diaphragm. And that was when we were learning fight or flight. So as you know, a pack of fish doesn't care if their friends are eaten by well, they don't have friends, but by a whale, they just kind of keep on moving, right? And then the last one is why when we have a relationship issue, we feel it right in our diaphragm there, like in our gut, right? So we can do a lot of things. Like right now, if you pull in your belly button towards the back of your spine, you can actually release a little bit of that anxiety feeling in your belly. Right? So just kind of noticing all those things. And I do all of these practices with my clients, but, you know, I'm wanting to let you guys know how this works. Now, trauma work is slow work. So we go slow in order to go fast. So it'll feel like you're doing like, why am I doing a meditation for 45 minutes? Well, the slower we go, the faster your results will be. So usually in 3 to 5 sessions, my clients feel some relief, unless there's a blocking belief that they're going to lose something by getting better. So those are things that we then kind of go in and fine tune. Okay, next one. So I also use internal family systems model. So this one is great. Chronic pain is actually proven to be higher in people who had childhood trauma. And childhood trauma does not mean that you had bad parents. It could mean that your parents were so busy working that you had to look after your siblings, that you were the parentified child, that you were the one responsible for something that you were not even prepared to be responsible for because you were too young, right? It could be neglect, right? It could be self-abandonment. So just kind of noticing, right? Because we all have these protectors. So those protector parts could be always feeling like you have to be moving, always have to be productive. It might be that you are a people pleaser, right? The manager and firefighter parts. The manager is our protector that walks around with a clipboard list and takes care of everything, right? No one ever needs to ask us about anything. Well, the thing is that manager is the worst manager you've ever had in your entire life because they don't have to report to HR. So they're going to keep you moving by going, oh, you better be perfect because you know that lots of people are better looking than you, right? Like they are the worst manager ever. They say the meanest things to you, but they have been there since childhood to keep you safe, and they've kept you safe throughout time. Maybe that was something that was good, right? Because it kind of motivated you, but after a while, it just kind of keeps on hitting you down, right? The firefighter parts are exactly like it sounds. It's the parts that, like a firefighter coming into the house will spray water onto things, and it doesn't care what the house looks like after. So these are the, like, when we're talking to someone and we're in pain and we yell at them, right? We didn't mean to. That protector decided to take over because the part of us that was feeling so hurt by the way they asked us about the utility bill or something really made us need that. So the exiles are those parts of us that are protecting us, but we don't like them. So those are the parts of us that we kind of want to like push away. And the more we try to push them away, have you ever tried to push a child away when you're talking on the phone? Guess what? That child gets louder, right? So that's exactly how the exile will work. And our inner child is the part of us that feels abandoned. Every version of us before today is our inner child. So it's funny because a lot of people tell me that they don't believe in the inner child, and that's silly. But right now, I'd like you to close your eyes and think about yourself as a child. And I want you to bring up a picture of you as a child. And I want you to notice, sometimes we notice how cute we were and why we didn't have more confidence. And just notice how old you are and what you're doing. And just notice how you're feeling. And then I want your current adult self to step into that picture and stay a little bit away, about 5 feet away, and just notice if you can get the gaze of that child. And if the child can recognize you. And just notice, does the child want you to sit beside them? Are they cautious about you? And just notice if there's something that naturally wants to be said between you and your inner child. And just let it happen. And then what I want you to do is give that child a hug if they feel ready, always consent. And if not, just let them know that you'll be back and that they'll never be alone again. And just put them inside your heart for safekeeping. And then I want you to just open your eyes and just kind of notice how that felt for you. And if you couldn't feel it right now, that's okay. Some people have trouble visualizing, right? So just kind of noticing the sensations and feelings, right? Was there a protector that came up to shame you for not being able to see yourself, right? So just kind of notice every part of information or lack of information tells a story for us. And then we've got our true self. So our true self is the version that, that's who we were before anyone told us who we needed to be. So that is our calm, compassionate self, our wise self. So there's lots of different things. So, and they come out in many different ways. So through sounds, movement, voluntary or involuntary. So, all that it says on the slides. Okay, moving on. So we're not going to have much chance to do this today, but I will send a playlist, and we'll be doing other sessions, follow-up sessions. If you are interested in, some follow-up sessions, please make sure that you get onto our mailing list. And I do go over this inside the course with EFT tapping. So EFT tapping is a proven pain relief and trauma relief process, and it's based on acupressure points. So it's kind of like acupuncture, but just the pressure. So what you do is you hit on this part of the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, under the chin, on the chin, collarbone, and the side, and then the top of the head. And through repeating that, it usually starts off with a karate chop with a particular verse. So I'll put in the chat, a version. So what we'll do is we'll send out on the mailing list a sample of this for pain. If you do have a particular kind of pain that you'd like us to send a version of, please, put it in the chat, and I will make sure that I curate a list that is particular to your type, because the closer the affirmations and acknowledgement statements are to what you're experiencing, the more effective it is. And this particular technique is used on veterans, and they can forget about awful visions of past warfare and within 3 days of use. So it does bring down your pain. Now, if you do have problems with lifting your arms, I always suggest, if you are with your spouse, have yourself lie down in your spouse's kind of like they're sitting behind you like this. You lie down in their lap, and they can actually tap on you for you when you've got your eyes closed. So those are options too for couples tapping, or tapping on a child. Yeah. Okay. And here is neuro-linguistic programming. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste of this one. So this one, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to notice your pain. And I want you to pull that pain out of your body. And if it was standing in front of you or behind you, how big is it? And just notice how big it is. And what color is it? And what shape is it? And then I want you to take a deep breath. What color is it? How big is it? And what shape is it? And if it's the same size and the same color and the same shape, if nothing has changed, I want you to see if you can push it away or step back from it. If it's standing behind you, I want you to turn around and face it. And I want you to see if you can make it black and white and transparent and fuzzy. And I want you to notice if you can make it smaller. And if there's any sounds that go along with it, I want you to turn it down, quieter. Then I want you to see if you can make it smaller and smaller and smaller. And see if you can make it so small that it fits inside your hand. And if you're having trouble with this, that's okay. I've got other techniques that I would use with you in session that we would use. So what I want you to do, now that it's in your hand, I want you to ball it up. I want you to see if you can light it on fire. And I want you to see if you can throw it on the ground and stomp on it. Just take a deep breath and just kind of notice, did it bounce? Did it bounce away from you? Were you able to step on it and squish it? Or did it bounce and go right back where it was before? That could be an indication that it's a protector that's protecting you and you're not willing to let it go yet. So if it is gone or a little bit lower and a little bit more tolerable, I want you to put your thumb and your pinky finger together And I want you to tell me, how many stairs did you have in your house growing up? And if you had multiple houses, just choose one. And if you had no stairs, I want you to tell me how many windows you had. Okay, now shake that out. Now I want you to think of a good memory. I want you to think of a memory or something that you really want to do. And I want you to think about it. I like to kind of think about the first time that I was driving. So choose something where, for me, it was, I was driving along, the sense of freedom, my radio with, I get to choose the music, and just noticing my friends kind of laughing and having a good time, and knowing that we're all here and really just present in this moment. And what I want you to do is notice how big is that picture that you have. And I want you to make it bigger and bigger and bigger and high definition, and step into it. And I want you to look around, and I want you to see everything in this, and I want you to feel everything on your skin. And I want you to notice if you can turn up that radio dial louder and louder and louder. And the way I usually tell it's loud enough is I get this little smile. And when you feel like you've got everything about that positive feeling, I want you to put your thumb and your pinky finger together. And I want you to tell me how many cousins were on your dad's side. So how many cousins did your dad have? So what we're doing right now is we're taking a file. So that trauma file that we had before, we've replaced it with a positive memory, and we've time-stamped it and dated it. So yeah, so that's neuro-linguistic programming. I wish we had more time because it's really fun to play with. Okay, and next one, EMDR. So this is one of my favorite ones. So eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Basically what we're doing again is refiling a memory. So there are two different ways we can do it. We can do it with eye movement, where you're basically moving your eye, but I bring up all of the emotion. And to do that, because of the weak processing afterwards, what I do is I actually do all the IFS therapy and that kind of stuff first, so that you know on that week that you're alone, that you can actually pull on those resources of your protectors and be there with your inner child when your inner child's feeling vulnerable. And if you aren't feeling like you are that capable adult for that inner child, you can actually be there for that inner child. So, but tonight we're going to do a little bit of an envisioning, and this is to one of my, yeah, there is, it's similar to art. You can do it online though, and art is actually not recommended for online. So I'm going to show you a technique right now, and this one is called Flash. So this is kind of like, I like to think of it as flash dancing. But what it is we're only going to use positive memories or positive distraction. So you can do it by talking about your favorite thing. If you love talking about your kids and bragging about your kids, and nothing bad will come up. If you love music, if you have a favorite show, if you love puppy videos, right? Like whatever it is. So this can be built into your regular day. And I call this, when I'm dealing with first responders, I always say tap out your day, right? Because sometimes you don't want to talk about it with your spouse, but your spouse can definitely put on your favorite song and say, okay, I want you to label your day from 0 till 10, with 10 being the highest. And now we're going to put on some positive things. So I'm just going to get Hannah, my Hannah White. Yeah, there we go. And to just put on some music for us. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to choose a target. So choose a tiny target, like, oh, geez, like, you know, Jean didn't say hi to me in the office today, and that really upset me. Or, geez, like my pain, my back is feeling like an 8 today. Or I'm really not looking forward to going and seeing that doctor again, right? And I want you to label it from 0 to 10. I want it to be a particular exact target. And then what we're going to do is we're going to visualize that you're on a train, and you're going to look out while sitting on that train, and you're going to see another version of you. And that other version of you is going to take the distress for you. So you're going to be like, here is that doctor's visit coming up next week. So you can hold on to that and don't feel guilty about it. Some people feel guilty allowing the other version of you to have it. And so this other version of you is going to get the relief also, but you need to do the work by leaving it behind. And so what we're going to do is we're going to tap. So you can tap like this. If this hurts, tap your feet. You can go side to side as long as you're going left, right, because what we're trying to do is reprogram those neurons between the left and right brain. Okay, so we're on the train. We've got our target. Hannah's going to play the music for us. There we go.
C minor. Put it in C minor.
And we'll pull back into the train station and just kind of notice, did your original target go up? Did it stay the same or did it go down? So if your original target went from like an 8 to a 6, then you would keep on going with that particular distraction. Otherwise, if it stayed the same or went up, you would choose something that's more catered to you. So maybe you're a heavy metal person, right? So anything that's a positive distraction. So I've had some people that choose songs that are actually really sad and they're like, it's not going down. Well, of course it's not, because it's engaging a different side of you, right? We need it to be a real positive distraction. So so just to kind of end off, I know that we're right at the 1 hour mark. We are, doing, overcoming objections, stress and fear of starting over with the new provider by highlighting the collaborative validated approach of this program. So we have, some bonus values right now. So usually 6 hours with me, which is more than enough to get started on the pain relief, is usually about $1,200. And we are doing a course that we can offer virtually. Now it is just a course, it's not counseling, for $197. So, if you have any questions or anything, please put them in the chat and we will answer them shortly here. And if you did want to, take advantage of that course, we'll keep that, available until, Monday, and just email us at admin at retreatpsychology.com, or just put in the chat that you'd like a reach out. All right, so so now any questions in the chat? Okay, and I'd like everybody to kind of put down their ending measure. So if you started at your starting measure of pain of 0 to 10, I'd like you to put in the chat where you're sitting now. And I mean, some people might have gone up because maybe you were sitting in an uncomfy chair, right? Maybe there's some things that are like, geez, like this seems like a lot. Like I already do this. So just in the chat, like, was there any particular techniques that, you feel like you would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of? Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too sure if this, I don't know if I missed anything, but I'm not seeing many questions in the chat. If you're just shy, that's totally okay. Feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. And I really appreciate your time today. I hope that that gave you a little bit of, insight as to things that we do. That was just a small section of what we can do. But we are planning on doing some more sessions where we can just go into particular things. So like, we can actually feel what Flash feels like for an hour. I'm feeling for those groups, I'd have to have like a Metallica fans group and, maybe a Celine Dion or a friends group, right? So it all depends on your positive distraction. And with EFT, I will put an EFT tapping in the chat for pain if you would like to feel it. Now, if you do have any concussion or anything, I would like to, advise to look up something that is for brain injury, just because we want to make sure we're not tapping on our face if it is going to increase the pain. Yeah, so I'm just going to put that pain EFT for you to try in the chat there. There's a few of them that are great. This is one of my favorite ones. And I also really like Brad Yates too. So yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And reach out if you have any questions. And we'd love your feedback. Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. Yeah. And, honestly, like with my couples clients, I really like to use the EFT with partners and for people to do it on their children too. So it just feels like a massage almost sometimes when you really get into it. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much for your time.